I had lunch with the late Fred Thompson one day, and a statement that he made really impacted me then, but I didn't understand the true scope of it until recently. So I've had some fun with videos lately, trying to do some things that are lighter, because if it's heavy all the time, people get bored with seeing it and hearing it, myself included. But I want to give you, everyone, a little bit of my history, because I think it's important to set the stage for what I'm getting ready to tell you. Had lunch with Fred Thompson, and I guess it's okay to say who else I had lunch with. Fred Thompson's passed away. He's no longer here. The other two gentlemen are still alive. They didn't say anything really negative, and so I'm not here to out anybody. What I'm here to do is let Americans know how perilous the times are right now with our information. And what Fred said to me during the lunch, he said, nothing happens in politics that's not planned years in advance. And so I'm going to set a little bit of the stage of what I did back in 2004 to 2006. And I can only tell you vaguely what it is that we do today. It would jeopardize a contract actually two contracts that I have. First of all, 2004 to 2006, I was involved in the research and development for facial recognition, both two-dimensional and three-dimensional facial recognition. We had a company called CaptureNet. It's now defunct. I don't know if the technology was sold. I'm not sure what happened. I'm going to tell you why. I don't know. It was KAPTURENET, CaptureNet. We went head-to-head with Motorola and Panasonic. We created a mobile DVR, mobile digital video recording platform that could, with live streaming and GPS, transmit that information from like a police car or a mobile surveillance system back to a dispatch, or offload the information when it got back to dispatch in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Now that's pretty commonplace, but back then it was unheard of, especially the facial recognition, and that's still being developed. But what I didn't realize at the time, what we were developing was, or helping develop, was the basis for some of what our digital signatures are today, what the platforms are today. And this is a warning to Americans, and I honestly, I don't yet know how to redact the information that we've given. I don't know how to pull the information back. I don't know how to change things. I don't know how to get off of the locomotive that we're on, but at least I'm going to let you know where we are, so that you can be more aware of it as we flippantly give things away without thinking about it. So facial recognition is a biometric signature, right? And it's not only facial recognition. When a camera takes a picture of your face, especially if it's live motion with the 3D motion that you see on your iPhones and so forth nowadays, that's a little bit of a motion picture. And what it does, it creates points all over your face. It is a digital signature. Same thing with retinas. So if you have a really high definition picture made of your eyes, that is a digital signature. And there's a lot of digital signatures that people are not even aware of. Now, we're all very accustomed to seeing fingerprints, right? Fingerprints are probably the most common. They've been around forever. However, they are some of the least used nowadays. The collection of data goes far beyond the things that we even think of nowadays. Every time you use your phone, you talk to Alexa or you talk to Google, you talk to those things, there is a biometric trace made or a biometric footprint made of your voice. Every time you look in your phone and you use the facial recognition for your phone, you're creating a biometric footprint. I recommend turning it off, by the way. Every time you, this is the big one that people don't even think of. Every time you get a job, you get a license for a state, and every state is different. This is something people don't understand. We're going to do a whole other segment very shortly here on another topic related to this. But every time that you get a job in a state, you move, you go to a licensing board, you go submit your information to that state, and you subsequently give them your fingerprints or you have a picture made. A database is being made. Now, it may be going to the NCIC database, it may be going to the state database, and depending on what you're getting that Depending on what you're getting it done for, maybe the Department of Justice, Homeland Security. And I'm not really concerned about those things as much as what I'm going to tell you next. And this is important, Americans. You really need to be thinking about this as we forge ahead into the new millennium. We are so accustomed to these things now that we do it without a second thought. I just got back from, and there's three things I'm going to tell you here, okay? And one of them is we just got back from the International Security Conference trade show. We were there I haven't been in several years because of COVID, and we were there to review, see, analyze, get our hands on, fingers on, eyes on the newest technology in security. Now, there's a lot of things that are coming out in security. It's more commonplace now to walk up to a door, use your face, open a door with your face or your retinas, scan a hand, scan a fingerprint, use a fingerprint to open a car door, use a fingerprint to open your computer, use a fingerprint for your iPhone. Those things are more and more common. What we saw there too was, I think the one that stuck in my mind the most was the Boston Dynamics. Boston Dynamics, is that the company? I'll put a note below if it's not. For some reason that doesn't sound right. I think it's Boston Dynamics. They had this robo-dog thing there, several robo-dog things there. And those robo-dogs can be equipped with a number of different devices to detect people, who you are, facial recognition, voice recognition, using different types of cameras, 360 cameras, for all types of things. You may have seen where, and I'll put a link to this below, but you may have seen where New York City supposedly just introduced those in some limited capacity in New York City to be, roving sentinels, I guess. But here's what else has happened. So, a friend of mine, this is not talking cryptically, I'm going to make sure that none of my sources are jeopardized. A friend of mine works, for lack of better terms, in PsyOps. And he texted me this week and he said, look, the classes that I spent time in this week would make most Americans want to go dig a hole and die. And he was specifically talking about, I responded, have a couple responses back and forth, and I said, I think I understand what you're talking about. Are we talking about the storage of data, biometric signatures? He said, yes, people would freak out. And I said, well, here's my belief. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. That's not exactly the words I used. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. I said, I believe that all of our biometric signatures, all of our digital signatures have already been stolen, are already stored, and are likely already in place to be used whenever somebody wants to be able to use them. He said, you are exactly correct, and it goes far beyond that. Now, we're going to get together sometime soon. I'm going to make sure we get together. If you're watching this, we're getting together soon. The only reason that I had a kind of a hint of what, now that was not, his classes were governmental. I'll leave them at that. His classes were governmental. One of the guys that works for us went to another symposium 2 weeks ago, and when he got back, he said, oh my God. He said, data mining and identity theft and cyber attacks are going to go up 15,000% this year. And we haven't had long enough of a discussion about it, but enough. I already knew that was going on. I didn't know what the rise was. I didn't know what the rate of increase was, but we knew that that was a problem because what we do with one of our companies is we collect information every single day. We collect fingerprint, we collect biometric signatures, which is fingerprint, we collect facial recognition, we collect pictures. It's part of our contract. That's all I'm going to say. So I already know that it's going on, but my concern has always been who's storing the data, who's using the data, who has access to the data, and is it compromised? So yes, it's compromised. Yes, it's being stored, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a story with me personally. Okay, I worked for Anheuser-Busch 25 years ago as a kid. Was I a kid? 25, 50, 40, 30. Gosh, longer than that. It was 29 years ago. Yeah, I was a kid. To me, I was a kid. 29 years ago, and about or 9 years ago, I got a letter from Anheuser-Busch stating that my information with my Social Security number had been compromised. Now, at that time, they did not collect biometric data. There was no digital signature, right? So it was just my information had been compromised. Somebody had lazily left it probably on a server somewhere. Server got hacked, and several thousands of employees had their information stolen. I was one of those, so I got LifeLock free for I don't know, a year, 2, something like that. That was their way of saying, sorry, we screwed up. We left your crap on a server that it didn't need to be left on. So this is a lot of information. And there's more. I'm going to give a couple of the videos about this too as well. But when our employee got back from this symposium and we started having a discussion about some of the concerns, he was a little hypervigilant in his discussion with me, saying that this is really bad. Like, what's going to happen? Like, what's happening is bad. This is bad news. Like, yes. And by the way, this will not keep your information from being stolen. Okay, I'll put another link below. If you need identity theft, you don't have it. You don't have it for yourself, your spouse, your kids, your family. You know, husband, wife, mom, dad. I still use those are the pronouns I use, husband, wife, mom, dad. If you do not have identity theft, I do recommend getting it. It will not keep your information from being stolen, but it may alert you if your information is stolen. And I'll put a link to that below as well. So they expect, and that's 3 things, right? So I talked with my friend who, for lack of better explanation, he's a government employee. I went to the ISC trade show and saw some of the new robo-dogs, roving sentinels that are AI, artificial intelligence, that are being deployed in different cities. I think Los Angeles is looking at it too, or just did it. And then our employee went to this cybersecurity symposium and came back kind of freaking out about the 15,000% increase in hacks and that type of thing going on this year. You need to be very concerned about the fact your information has already been stolen. And when I say that with very real assurance that if you have put your information in somewhere as a biometric signature, it has been converted into a digital signature. And that digital signature has, for all intents and purposes, been stolen. Now, it may not have been used yet. And here's where the discussion with we'll call him PsyOps. That's a good term for him. With the discussion with my PsyOps friend was, if it's not been used, if it's not already been compromised that you know of, someone already has access to it with intentions of future use. Anything that we see today needs to be really gone over with a very clear eye and a clear understanding that most of the things that we hear and that we see can be duped. Most of the things that we believe to be true, we have to use some real godly discernment and wisdom as to whether or not what we're seeing and hearing is true. But as Americans, I am going to encourage you to do this. And please do this. Turn off the facial recognition on your phone. Turn off Alexa. Turn off Google Home. Anything that is from a large third-party company that is not marketed as a security company. The devices out there that are done, let's just use Amazon. I pick on Amazon all the time because Amazon, you're going to get your security products from the same company that you order your Tylenol from. Why that doesn't make sense to me, I can't figure it out. Don't do it. Use a security company to secure your assets. Use a security company to secure your family. Use a security company that is not tied to a large third-party brand that may want to sell and distribute your information. And for God's sakes, turn off Google, turn off Alexa, and I think we really need to start marketing. That's the wrong word. No. We need to start fighting the intrusive requests by states that are requiring us to be obligated to give our digital signatures, our fingerprints, our facial recognition, our retinal recognition to the government. Now look, I worked on facial recognition in 2004 and 2006. It was really good. Do you know how long ago that is now? Let's see, let's just say 2006. So 14, that's 17 years. I worked on this 17 years ago, and it was great 17 years ago. It had a very, very minor false positive rate. Like you couldn't fool the stuff, right? You could with the 2D, but not with the 3D. Let's be smart Americans. Let's start saying no to some of these intrusive technologies that they're requiring us to register our digital signatures with. And for God's sakes, get these devices out of your home that are recording your voices, that are listening to you. And when you're not using your phones, leave them somewhere else. Turn them off. We're in really perilous times. And honestly, man, if I get this guy to come on, I will. I think he'll probably jeopardize his position. I'll see if maybe we can bring him in on a phone call, or we can mask his voice so that he's unaware of, so that people are unaware of what his voice sounds like. Maybe that's a way we can do that. I'll ask him. Be smart, be vigilant. Above all, Americans, protect your stuff, protect your assets, and for God's sakes, don't use the same company to secure your home, family, and business as you do to buy your Tylenol bread and, order your kids' birthday presents. Hey, please like and subscribe. We got some more good information coming out. Thank you, Fred Thompson. Thank you for the insight. Sorry we lost you.